Hello, my beautiful people. I hope you're doing super amazing today. I am so happy to be with you talking about this topic that interests me a lot. And today it is about the importance of being an interesting speaker and the importance of being a good user of the language, either if it is our native language or our second language or our third language, whatever language it is that you speak. Okay, so I wanted to start by introducing a problem that I've been noticed lately in society in a range of different types of people from young to older people, and it is that most of us have grown socially and professionally to be boring speakers, to be boring people. Because a parameter that I use to qualify someone as boring is how they use the language, how they treat the language they are speaking. Because I consider that through the use of language, the use of our speech and the way we build it and create it, we can identify many different factors and elements of the personality of a person. This includes the curiosity that people have when speaking, because it is requires a certain level of curiosity of your own language for you to speak in an interesting manner, and the admiration itself that you have towards the language. If you don't admire your language, if you don't identify aspects of that language, of that way of communication that you consider in some way fascinating or that speak to you in a more deep emotional level, then the personality that you will transmit through your speech is going to be rather plain and dull. And all of this will reflect in three principal aspects of communication and language, which are words and vocabulary, intonation and rhythm, and your facial expressions and your body language. Because remember that communication and language goes beyond words, goes beyond every little thing that we say per se. Because words for me are the result of a lot of processes that occur like in an internal level before transforming into a more tangible way that we can say it's a word, that we can say is a sound, a wave, something that others can perceive. So all this process is it will be reflected through our body language, through our intonation, through the way we use our voice, through our facial expressions. What facial expressions do you use when you speak? Do you transmit a lot of emotions or not? So it is a lot that goes behind just saying words when you speak, when we communicate. So especially when people are speaking a second language, sometimes we forget that we have all this stuff behind just the words. Maybe sometimes we only think about the words that we're saying and the words that we will say next to the other one, and we think a lot about like those technical aspects of our language, of our second language that we are trying to speak, right? And so sometimes it can sound a little robotic or a little like generic, and sometimes it reminds me to this character Toby Flenderson from The Office. If you're familiar with him, you must know that sometimes, if not most of the time, he is unbearably boring. Super boring, and for that reason he is the most hated character of that show. And just hearing him speak makes you want to scream, because his speech is monotonous, is lifeless, and completely uninspired. That's the way the character is, and this should be called the Toby Flenderson syndrome, because sometimes we fall into this trap, especially when we are speaking or communicating in a second language. And sometimes, as I said before, we think a lot about the grammatical aspect, the idea that we're trying to convey, instead of being authentic and instead of being more vivid and more true and pure with the message that we're trying to convey, right? And I'm not asking society to communicate with the vocabulary and complexity of the 19th century scholars or with the Shakespearean brilliance. What I want you to see is that we live in such a beautiful world, in such a marvelous and majestic world. And I think our speech and our language has to at least resemble that a little bit. I mean, it's impossible. It's impossible because this world is beyond consciousness and beyond words. But I think that our language and our communication and our interactions have to have this authenticity and this vibrance that reminds us that we live in a beautiful world, that we live in a world that allows us to communicate and to use words and to use our vocabulary and to use our minds and our being into conveying messages, ideas in rich, vibrant, and colorful ways, just like our world is, right? Because if you think about it and if you observe and listen good enough to your surroundings, nowadays everybody speaks the same. Everybody's style in communication is the same. Everybody sounds the same. It's like we are programmed in the same way. And we are like we have whole universes inside ourselves, and we should try to express that throughout our words. But instead, what we have as the most wonderful and intelligent beings on the planet are repetitive linguistic formulas and unoriginal metaphors, generic expressions, and excessive cursing that strips words of meaning. And this makes me think that language today sounds more like just a handful of noises rather than something meaningful. And I acknowledge that I myself have fallen into this trap, but God has given me a sensitivity towards language, and I just find it really difficult to overlook this issue. And for that reason, every time I speak and every time I communicate, I try to be and I make the effort to communicate with intention, with honesty, and with a true heart. I think those three pillars are really, really important when trying to communicate. And if you think about it, those elements of personality, of your being, through heart, honesty, and intention will be reflected in the future success that you will have, either in your personal life, in your professional life, in your relationship life, in every area of your life, because everything comes from there. Everything comes from intention. Everything should be transmitted and conveyed with honesty and with a true heart. If you don't find what your true heart is, you can find what is it that you are meant to say. You can find what is it that you are meant to sound like. And through the words, through the spoken word, is the way in which you can get to know yourself. But if you come from trying to hide something or trying to seem something that you're really not, then it will be really difficult for you to understand yourself and to understand what is it that you want to say. You will find it hard to find your truth because you won't allow your words speak for you, right? You won't allow your thoughts and your feelings be accurately expressed through your words, you know? So this is something to be really mindful of. And it is true that language is used for communication, as I said a while before, that it is a matter of I understand you, you understand me, okay, we are on the same spot. But we humans, because we are so wonderful and so amazing, we have make it an art form. We have make language and communication an art. So language has become something with which we can translate our inner world, our feelings, our thoughts, our ideas into something that we can sense with our five senses, with our sight, with our ears. Well, in this case, language cannot be touched, cannot be tasted. But maybe if you take it into an extreme, into a metaphysical extreme, you can touch it and you can taste it, right? It can have flavor, and it can have color, and it can have texture, you know, and that's precisely the point. The point is that you find what is your own unique flavor, what is your own unique texture. And this, you can only find it if you know what you feel, what you think, and what you want to communicate. Avoid using generic expressions, avoid using all these repetitive formulas that maybe don't mean anything to you. I think every word, every sentence that we say have to make you feel something first, make you feel something first, make you feel like, oh yeah, this, make you think like, yes, this is the truth. This is the truth that I'm feeling, that I'm thinking, that I'm owning right now, and that I want to express. And sure, generic speech can be useful sometimes, but most of the times, this inner world that we try to make other people understand is super complex, and it needs a lot of nuances and colors and textures for other people to really understand. And you don't have to be a poet, and you don't have to be a writer. You only have to be really sure and really certain about what it is that you want to say, about what it is that you feel, what it is that you think, and how do you want other people to perceive you, and what parts of you do you want other people to know about yourself. Am I making myself clear in there? If not, let me know in the comments, and sure, we can discuss about this topic that it really sparks my soul. So my objective with this video is to invite you to explore your language, either if it is your first language or your second language, or even your third, your fourth, whatever it is. The language, the tool that you use to connect with the world and other people, because language is our bridge. It's our bridge between ourselves and the rest of the world. All right, so avoid the Toby Flenderson syndrome. Try to always be interesting, even if it is not in your words, in your body language, in your facial expressions. You know, you should always aim to make other people feel alive with what you say. Make other people feel alive with what you say. Make other people feel happy that they're talking to you. Make other people feel emotions, you know, because that's what we're all about. Humans, we are all about emotions. We're all about feelings. And even though our personalities are different, and some of us are more expressive and more easily moved than others, it is always so good to connect to that emotional part of other humans. Even if they are not so expressive, they can feel things inside when you talk to them, when you speak with them. But if you're a Toby Flenderson, they will feel like they would rather talk to a wall, right? And equally, try to feel or try to dwell in the pleasure of speaking authentically and vividly. When you speak, and the words and the sounds and the whole bit of interaction in which you speak with your true heart, that little moment, that little lapse of time, it's like magic. It's like magic because it's your spirit, it's your whole being expanding into the outer world through your words, to your movements, to your intonation, through your voice. You know, it's your spirit getting out in the form of your voice. So it is really amazing. It is a feeling that leaves you with a sense of satisfaction, with a sense of accomplishment, with a sense of expansion. You feel bigger when you communicate with honesty, and with a true heart. You feel bigger, and you feel that you can do absolutely everything in this world. It's something similar like if you go to the gym or if you do sports. When you finish your routine, or when you finish your game, or when you finish running, that you end up with a sense of freedom. Is something similar, is something that liberates you. Is something that really connects to the part of you that is the most true of all. So we gotta use language, and we gotta communicate in a way that we connect deeper to ourselves, to our own truth, and to the truth of others, and the truth of the world. And that would be all for today. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment if you have any takeaway, question, suggestion, idea that this video or this topic may awaken in you. I would really love to read you, to discuss with you, to talk and know what you gotta say and know your opinions. I would really love to do that. Take care and see you in the next one.